English, there are four main kinds of conditionals. The zero conditional: if I miss my bus, I take a taxi to work. The first conditional: if I have time, I will write you a letter. The second conditional: if I won the lottery, I would buy a house. And the third conditional: if I had studied more, I would have passed the exam. All conditional sentences are composed of two clauses: a condition, starting with if, and a result. The zero and the first conditionals are the most common, and these are the ones we will look at today. So let's start with the zero conditional. First, I want you to read these sentences with me. When it snows, I stay at home. When I am cold, I turn on the heating. When I'm too tired to cook, I buy a takeaway. So, do you know another word that could replace the word when? The word that can replace when is the word if. So, if it snows, I stay at home. If I'm cold, I turn on the heating. And if I'm too tired to cook, I buy a takeaway. In these examples, we have created the zero conditional. The structure is if plus the present simple for the condition, so snows, am, I'm, plus the present simple for the result, stay, turn, buy. So in the zero conditional, the words if and when are interchangeable. This is because the zero conditional is used to talk about general truths. So let's look at some more examples. If it rains, I take my umbrella to work. If the weather is nice, I go to the beach. If she misses the train, she takes a taxi. As you can see, we can replace the word if with the word when in these examples too. So when it rains, I take my umbrella to work. When the weather is nice, I go to the beach. When she misses her train, she takes a taxi. In fact, as the zero conditional is used to talk about general truths, it is often used to talk about routines. For example, if I have time in the morning, I often read the news. If my mum comes to stay, we always go out for lunch. If the weather is nice, we sometimes go to the park. A big clue of when we use the zero conditional is when we use adverbs of frequency, such as always, never, sometimes, occasionally, and often. So if you want to create a conditional with an adverb of frequency, you will probably need the zero conditional. So here we have, I often read the news, we always go out for lunch, we sometimes go to the park. Another thing to remember about conditionals is that clause 1 and clause 2 can appear in different positions. So clause 2, the result, we can put at the beginning of the sentence. They sometimes go to the park. Clause 1, the condition, we can put at the end of the sentence if the weather is nice. So they sometimes go to the park if the weather is nice. So to sum up, the zero conditional is used to talk about general truths. The word if can be replaced with the word when, and it is often used to talk about routines. Its structure is if plus the present simple for the condition plus the present simple for the result. For example, if I drink coffee, I get a headache. Or we can put the condition at the beginning of the sentence. So I get a headache if I drink coffee. Now, how is the zero conditional different from the first conditional? Let's have a look at some examples of the first conditional together. If I miss my bus tomorrow, I will phone you. If the weather is nice this weekend, we will go to the beach. If you teach me English, I will teach you French. So what's the difference? Well, the structure is different. With the zero conditional, we only use the present simple, but for the first conditional, we use if plus the present simple for the condition, miss, is, teach, plus the future simple for the result. I will phone you, we will go to the beach, I will teach you French. But when do we use it? The first conditional is used when the condition is based on a real-life situation and the result is possible or likely to happen in the future. So with the first conditional, we're not talking about routines. We're not talking about things that happen usually, often, always. We're talking about a specific situation which could happen, which will bring a certain consequence in the future. So with the first conditional, we don't use words like always, often, sometimes, but we do use words that refer to the future. So we can use words like tomorrow, this weekend. If I go to the swimming pool, I stay in the water for hours. Next year, etc. So remember, the zero conditional is for routines. If I go to the swimming pool tomorrow, I will take Jake with me. A real situation with a result in the future.
A consequence in the future.
Now, let's compare the first conditional and the zero conditional a bit more closely. Let's look at another example. If you don't put on sunscreen, your skin burns. Here we have a general truth. When you don't put on sunscreen, your skin burns. So in this situation, imagine a child has asked me, why do we put on sunscreen? And I answer by saying, if you don't put on sunscreen, your skin burns. This is a general truth. This happens often. If we look at the example in the first conditional, we have, if you don't put on sunscreen, your skin will burn. So what's the difference here? Well, in the zero conditional, we're talking about a general truth, speaking in a very general manner. But with the first conditional, imagine someone like me with very fair skin, with freckles, and imagine I go to a hot country, maybe your country, and I go to the beach and you look at me and you say specifically, if you don't put on sunscreen, your skin will burn. So in this example, we're not talking about in general, often, always. We're talking about a real situation, a specific situation with a result in the future. So as with the zero conditional, we can also change the order of the clauses in the first conditional. So the condition can appear at the start of the sentence or at the end of the sentence. We do, however, need to be careful here because we cannot use if plus the future simple. We need to check that if is followed by the present simple. In many languages, you can use if and then the future. So in some languages, okay, so let's look at some more examples and you can decide if we need the zero conditional or the first conditional. Let's do the first one together. If she go to the market, she often buys some fresh bread.
That when you are
so
changing the
are we talking about a general truth, or
in
a
this
real
case, we can
situation
say,
with a
I
future
will
result.
go to the park tomorrow if the weather is nice.
Exactly, we're talking about a general truth, and we know that because there is the adverb often. And as we know, adverbs of frequency such as sometimes, often, never are used to talk about routines. So here we need the zero conditional. If she goes to the market, she often buys some fresh bread. And let's take a look at another example. If the weather to be nice, they go to their grandparents' house next weekend. Again, you can pause the video if you want to think about the answer. Here we have the time expression next weekend. So we know we are talking about a real situation with a future result. So we need the first conditional. If the weather is nice, they will go to their grandparents' house. So to finish today's lesson, let's look at what we've learned today. The zero conditional is used to talk about general truths. The word if can be replaced with the word when. The zero conditional is often used to talk about routines. Its structure is if plus the present simple plus the present simple, or present simple for the result plus if plus the present simple for the condition. So if my students learn something, I am always very happy. The first conditional is used for real situations with a future result. Its structure is if plus the present simple plus the future simple for the result, or the future simple for the result plus if plus the present simple for the condition. So if you learned something today from this lesson, I will be very happy.